Well, here we are again, and we have a lot to talk about. We've had official changes to our COVID guidance, which affects exposure protocols, but generally not the normal school day. We've also been told to expect more new guidance soon that pertains to boosters. And now that we're entering a new challenging phase of the pandemic, boosters are an important point of conversation, so we'll talk about that. In non-medical news, we're also in the process of redrawing the map of our Board of Education zones, which serve as the electorate for trustees. This won't affect which school your students go to, but it may change who your board member is as your representative. So we'll get to all of that after we breathe a little. I hope you had a nice break. Welcome back. I hope you took a break. I hate that we're so used to losing the feeling that we're on our way out of the pandemic, and I hate that we are so used to being ready to backtrack. But a good thing about this last year was that it built an infrastructure of policies at school that have kept any spread from occurring in the classroom. So we're coming into this new phase with some more confidence, but we're also making some changes, like asking students to come to school in paper surgical masks, which are far more effective than cloth. Of the types available, N95 are the best. KF94, KN95, double masks or fitted surgical masks are next best. Regular paper surgical masks are effective, and all of these are better than cloth. We ask students to come to school with them, but we will also have them at school for students who don't. We also still should have home test kits that you can pick up for free at your school. These are sometimes hard to find out there at Rite Aid and sometimes more expensive than they should be. So please take these kits to have for when you need them. Okay, so changes to our isolation protocol in the event of a positive test. A student may now return to school after 5 days from last positive, provided that they have no symptoms and a negative test. Before, it was 10, no matter what. For this one situation, a student without symptoms wanting to come back 5 days after a positive, public health is now recommending antigen tests because PCR tests will still be detecting an infection after it is no longer actively contagious. So, if your student has tested positive and needs to isolate, get an antigen test from one of our drive-up clinics after those 5 days. Locations and times of those testing sites are here. Which brings us to boosters. As you all know now, vaccination is the most effective way to prevent severe cases of COVID, but efficacy begins to wane somewhat after 6 months. So we've been told to expect new guidance that to be considered fully vaccinated, students will need to be boosted if eligible. This affects their modified quarantine, which is offered to a student who is exposed. If vaccinated, a student who has been exposed at school can keep coming to school without restrictions. If they are not fully vaccinated, they can only come to school by testing twice a week and keeping their mask on at all times, even outdoors. So not only is getting a booster the best way to keep your students safe, it's also the best way to put them on the path of least disruption in the event of an exposure. The plan is to make boosters available at our drive-up testing sites for free to all eligible students. You should be able to sign your 12 to 15-year-old students up for their boosters at link number 1 starting on Monday. You can, of course, also book boosters and look for vaccination appointments through the California Department of Health at link number 2. We are also asking all families to report your students' vaccination status again. We need to know who has had their full course and or their boosters so we can give everyone access to the appropriate protocol in the event of any exposure. And again, this is of course completely confidential. Please fill out the survey at link number 5. We're still testing at every school site, and you can still sign up for this screening at link number 3 and help us keep the clearest picture of COVID in our school community. We know our measures, masking, testing, vaccination, cleaning, work in keeping classrooms safe, but we also know now is a time for greater care and diligence. And we want to thank everyone for working together to keep our schools safe and open. And if you want to learn more about the project of refining the Board of Trustees district map in Santa Cruz, you can find that at link number 4. And feel free to reach out to me with any questions you have about this effort to ensure everyone in our community has the same representation on the board. You also may have questions about any of the things that I just said or any of the COVID protocols that we have going forward. Please don't hesitate to reach out. My email is on this page. And welcome back to school.